Hello and welcome back to the Sabbath Show. Everton lost to United. Didn't really do any Australians any favours for staying up and watching this game. Pretty poor performance, if I'm going to be quite honest. Sorry for the lighting and for the weird layout of everything. I had the Everton shirt on today, hoping it would manifest a victory or an upset or a really important point. But from the outset, it was established that that was absolutely not going to happen. I mean, we ended up conceding 21 shots in the first half. That's correct, 21 shots. Basically, the floodgates were open the entirety of the time. It was like they were never shut. It was always the same kind of ease for United in getting to some really vulnerable spots, parts of the pitch where they could attack the goal, and Jordan Pickford had his hands full in the early going and really had our defensive unit under duress the entirety of the first half. I think the key for today, credit to Man United for exploiting it, a lot of lofted passes and diagonal passes, and the kind of passes that were done in their own half, you know, to sort of bait Everton into pressing higher up the pitch where Man United had the ball, and then they would release a pass that was, you know, had a fair bit of distance on it, and Man United players were able to get in behind because we had pressed up, and they made an absolute living off of that. I mean, Ben Godfrey played an abysmal first half. I mean, it was basically a bloodbath on that right side. Anthony was getting absolutely everything he wanted. It was like I was watching the same play on repeat every 5 minutes. And that's where a lot of their opportunities sprouted from. And look, I would have really been a fan of Sean Dyche being basically like, after the first half hour, Ben Godfrey, you're off because you've been fucking shit. But yeah, we had to wait an extra 15 minutes, and ultimately that's where the goal was scored. If we talk about the goal itself, I mean, it really encapsulated the first half. Not enough physicality. I mean, there were a number of opportunities where we could have been a little bit more aggressive with the tackle and actually won the ball. We had like 4 or 5 chances to win it, didn't win it. Man United stayed with it, and unfortunately, very, very poor reaction-wise in the first half. Not very game-aware, very late to things, and Amadou Onana and Michael Keane were ball watching on that little, you know, possession, that little passage where McTominay simple run and was able to score on the near post. I mean, Jordan Pickford maybe should have saved it. That being said, Pickford had countless saves in the first half that were considerably good, and you know, we should have been down a lot more. If it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, and if it wasn't for Manchester United basically belting the ball right at Jordan Pickford every single time they had an open one-on-one. So we got let off in some ways, but ultimately I think that was just as well served when McTominay scored after 36 minutes. And look, the Doucouré loss, so much larger than I think a lot of people anticipated, because the midfield was so much more open. Manchester United had a lot of ease in just bringing the ball up. I mean, the physicality was pretty poor in the first half, generally speaking, but in the midfield, there was absolutely nothing. And for players of United's calibre, especially those roaming in the midfield, you need to be physical with them. And you need to let them know that things aren't going to be easy, which is exactly what was the case in the first half. Doucouré, it's pretty ironic because we needed someone of his physicality, someone with his aggressiveness, but that's what actually got him out of this fixture, being physical last week and being a bit irrational with that physicality. That's something we really missed, and we had to work things out on the fly. And Iwobi, he had an alright game, but you know, a lot of passing by him was really, really off. Iwobi was sitting out wide a lot of the time in the first half, and Demarai Gray was in the middle. That was a really questionable decision. It ultimately exposed quite a few gaps in our midfield. And Demarai Gray's not the kind of guy that is really a huge workhorse outside of the attacking third. So probably a missed trick there by Sean Dyche. But that being said, I mean, he made the right sub and probably made the right subs at the right time. to, bring something different, a little bit of a different element. And in the second half, it's sort of, I think he probably gave the team a spray at halftime because it was just completely unacceptable what we had dished up in the first half. And sort of we woke up, we looked a little bit more alert, a lot more physical, I will say. We seemed to be a little bit more attached onto our assignments and stayed with them a lot longer when they had the ball at their feet. But that being said, we can be as physical as we want to be, and we could have lifted as much as we wanted to, but that goal that we conceded in the second half is ultimately very avoidable. We talk about Seamus Coleman, these lapses, that last year plagued us. This year, this game, it was evident that Seamus Coleman error was brutal. All he needed to do was get a foot behind the ball instead of trying to trap it from on top. And instead, well, we know what happened. The rest is history. We exposed the back line, and it was easy pickings for Man United. A lot of teams are sorting that one out when you turn the ball over in that part of the pitch, and Manchester United are considerably better than, the stock standard team, the average team. So no surprises there with the second goal, but I think 2 goals is probably fair. We could have honestly been down 5-0 at the half, and it would have been really dire and would have killed our goal difference. But that being said, we didn't deserve to win. Now, I'm just going to talk about the player of the match. Alice Sims is going to be my player of the match. And for a young player, only his 3rd start, I think he was great. His hold-up play was good. There were some really productive things he did. He benefited, the kind of things that we did in the forward half. He had a really good shot in the first half, which I don't even understand how you get that little of a connection on your shot. He just needed a bit more composure. For a player of his experience, it's to be understood. Like, you can understand exactly why he probably did that. The pressure was on, but he had a lot more time. And if he just surveyed his options and just assessed the situation a little bit better, I absolutely think he would have buried that. But that being said, obviously some opportunities come and go, and you got to take the opportunities, and we didn't, at least Alice didn't on that occasion. But yeah, look, given a lot of players didn't rock up today, I think Alice was one of our better performers, and his energy was pretty good. There weren't too many bad things he did. He got in the right areas. For a player of his expectation, I think he exceeded it. But there were a lot of other players who didn't even reach the expectation, and that's probably where we fell apart. Now, just an honourable mention, though, to Jordan Pickford as well. There were a couple saves. He had to be super outstretched. There were a couple times where he had to make himself larger and, protect certain angles. And he did well there. Obviously, he let one past him in the first half. But in the second half, that second goal was, not really preventable, given, the vulnerability that Seamus brought onto the defence when he turned it over, where he turned it over. It was just asking for a problem. So, overall, it's a bit of a gut punch. But that being said, it's one that we knew was going to be tough. It was going to be a difficult game to play. Obviously, a hostile crowd. And we still, losing to Corey, I think now we realise what a difference that made. We sort of lost shape at times, seemed a little bit lost, given, we'd played the same 11 for quite some time, and to, shake it up, even though it was only one change, we can see the impact that had. And we also could have done with like a DCL or something just to really help us out up top, because ball security was a difficult thing in the first half, and even the second half for that matter. Now, a couple staggering stats at halftime. I'm not even really talking about the second half because all the damage was done in the first half. 14 shots in the box for United in the first half, and 100 touches in the final third in the first half for United. That's crazy numbers. I think after 60 minutes, they had 41 touches in their box. Like, that is crazy. And to only have conceded 1 goal to that point in time was just a miracle. But yeah, the second one put us out of our misery and rightfully gave us what we deserved. That's going to do it from me though. Make sure to drop a like. We are doing these every single week. Make sure to subscribe as well if you want to stay notified for that. But for now, I mean, we've got Fulham next at home. Big game. They did cause us some trouble. They have caused trouble to a lot of teams. They won't have Mitrovic, but they do have some equally capable players that can get the job done, if we give them the opportunity to. So obviously the Goodison crowd behind the team again usually brings out the best in us. We're usually more physical. We feed off the crowd. That same attitude is conveyed on the pitch. So let's hope we can bring it right from the word go. This game is just merely, a figure of the past, if that makes any sense. It's done. We move forward. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.